Israel. It's a threat to our country. It's a threat to peace in the Middle East in general. And I think that we need to have all options on the table. We should continue diplomatic sanctions. We should continue economic sanctions, and if need be, take military action. So all actions, all options must be on the table, but under no circumstances can Iran be allowed to acquire a nuclear weapon.
Well, as you know, this threat from Iran is very real, and it is one that is going to have to be addressed. I supported many of the sanctions laws that have been adopted. I'm certainly hopeful that these sanctions regimes will be effective, particularly the one relating to refined petroleum. Iran, of course, produces a great deal of crude oil. They don't refine as much as they need to. They have to import much of their refined crude. And with part of the comprehensive sanctions, the Comprehensive Sanctions Act that I supported earlier this year, we do hope that the ability of the Iranians to import refined crude, refined oil, will be impacted. We also need to disrupt Iranian transfers of money. When they sell oil, they're paid in dollars, and it's been splashed on the pages of the New York Times. I'm not saying anything out of school here. We've been able to use the Treasury Department effectively to disrupt many of those transfers of money. We need to do that. And again, we are going to need collaboration from some of our other friends, not just the Europeans that we know and love, but from the Russians, from the Chinese, and others who, in too many cases, have turned a blind eye to this Iranian threat. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad is a menace. He's a pariah. His people don't like him, and he cannot be allowed to have this. This cannot stand, and the military option should remain on the table. I hope it doesn't come to that. Israel may feel so threatened that they will need to take unilateral military action, and there will be an asymmetrical response. If Israel were to act, I would stand by Israel. This is a real threat. But please remember, should there be a conflict, there will be responses from Hezbollah and other Iranian proxies all over the world. And it will be something the likes of which we have never seen before. So we have to be very, very careful with our rhetoric on this. Ahmadinejad is, again, a menace, and my time is up.
At this time, I want to apologize to everyone who wrote an excellent question that we're just not going to have time to get to tonight. We're just about out of time for our questions of the candidates. So I have one more before we go to our closing statements. And this will go to the congressman first. Over the past year, faith-based organizations have issued statements calling for civil discourse in the political process. How will you and your campaign work to forward this goal?
It's a good question. I'm glad that the faith-based organizations are concerned and interested in the type of dialogue that we're having in these campaigns. It's important. I've always felt that as a candidate for office, I should talk about issues. I should talk about matters of public record. And it's fair to disagree, as we have tonight. That's part of democracy. It's about debate. And sometimes debates can be contentious. And sometimes, oftentimes these debates and these differences of opinion are rooted in philosophical differences of opinion. And sometimes those philosophical differences are manifested in partisan debates as well. But that said, as long as candidates try to speak to the issues, I think that's quite important. But again, sending out mail pieces with a soldier with a bloody face, saying that I haven't been helpful, I don't think really helps the dialogue very much. And knowing that I've been endorsed by the Veterans of Foreign Wars Political Committee, and a great deal of support from many of our veterans and our active troops. I'm very proud of that fact. But the bottom line is, we need to have a robust, vigorous debate. It should be civil. It should be based on the issues, and it most importantly should be based on facts. That is what we should be doing. And it's always been the way I've campaigned, and that's the way I'm campaigning in this election as well.
Thank you, Glenn. I'm all about the facts, Charlie. And if you read that little piece of political mail, you'll see that it's every single fact, every single assertion that's made in that piece of mail has a fact associated with it and is properly cited. You haven't made just one or two bad votes on veterans. You've made multiple bad votes for veterans. And I have them all here, and the press has them, and I'm happy to go through them line by line. vote by vote. The reality is that Charlie Dent voted for a budget that became the law of the land, that the Congressional Budget Office, the nonpartisan CBO, which calls balls and strikes on these bills, said would cut veterans' benefits by $5 billion, more than $5 billion. That's a fact, and it's cited in that piece of mail. Charlie Dent has voted to deny orphans and widows of soldiers killed in the line of duty full benefits. That's a fact, and we have the vote to prove it. So, Charlie, you may want to run from your record, but the bottom line is you've been in Congress for 6 years, and it's about time you begin to stand by the votes that you've made. Now, in terms of political discourse, I'm happy to talk about the issues. I've talked about the issues throughout this campaign. The paramount issues going into this election going forward is jobs in the economy and how we're going to reduce our debt and deficit. I've talked about it in the campaign. I released a 5-point jobs plan that very clearly talks about how we're going to do that. And I've talked about my record as mayor and what I plan to do as a member of Congress. So, I've looked at some of the mail from you, Charlie, and they're almost cartoonish, the stuff that I see that comes from your campaign. Every single assertion that I make in my mail is properly cited and properly attributed.
Well, that question was about civil discourse, and I do want to follow up with each candidate. So this will go to the mayor first. Would you please take 30 seconds and say something positive and complimentary?
No, I'm happy to do that. And I think Charlie has been happy to point out the positive thing that I have said about Charlie. And early on in the time that he was a member of Congress, he helped deliver on an earmark for an important road project in the city. And I, at the time, as mayor, complimented him on that. So I think it's an indication that this is about, when somebody does something right, I'm happy to say so, and when somebody does something wrong, and I disagree with it, I'm happy to point that out as well. So I've said it in the past when I felt like Charlie's done something well, and it just so happens it hasn't been in a few years.
That's very nice. I think it's called backhanded compliment where I come from, but in the spirit of the question, I'll say the mayor seems like he has a very nice family, and of course, I want to say that. I mean, I want to say that, nice family, and that's important. I mean, your families, all of our families, go through a lot when you run for office, and I'm sure it's very stressful for the families. I know that. Our families all know that, and so I want to say that about the mayor. I think he's quite earnest, and that's really all I have to say.
We've now come to the time for our closing remarks, and we're going to reverse the order of the opening statement. So, Congressman, your closing comment.
Sure, and I'm going to start just by responding to that little veterans jab that I took a few moments ago. And again, I'm going to read the numbers here. Since fiscal year 2005, $29.7 billion for veterans' health, and for the bill I voted for this year, the appropriations bill for the veterans' health and the veterans' appropriations, it's $48 billion, $48.7 billion. So from 29.6 roughly to 48.7 billion for veterans' health. That doesn't sound like a cut where I come from. Those are real dollars. Sam Johnson is a colleague of mine in Texas. He was a 7-year prisoner of war in Vietnam. He voted the same way that I did on many of the issues that you cited. He strongly supports me, and both Sam and I agree on one thing. That, we opposed this administration. They tried to make wounded warriors pay for some of their care. We opposed it, and we stopped it. We stopped it this year. That's what this administration has done after a massive stimulus bill to make many wounded warriors pay for their own care. But, I want to get off of that issue for a moment and go back to the reason why we're having a closing comment. And that is, again, this election is a choice.